Hello, everyone. Welcome to BF Film Session Live. We're back again. This time, I've got with me Kendall. Sorry, I'm going to keep screwing that up. This is a new thing that we're trying out together. Casey and I did a little bit of the film session before, and now we've got Kendall with us here. So, the kind of what we did for this one. First of all, we're going to go over Tremaine Edmunds, and Tremaine's been kind of a controversial topic and a lot over Twitter lately. Just about he's getting a lot of hate, and he's also, some people are really trying to back him up. So we wanted to watch some film on him and kind of go over what we think our opinions are on the whole matter.
Yeah, it's tough because, he's such a young guy and you root for him, especially as a fan. You're just like, oh, this guy, Tremaine, we traded up to go get him in the first round. He's so young. I wish he could be, the greatest thing since Ray Lewis, but we need to regulate our expectations, regulate the narrative, and accept that he's only 3 years into his NFL career. He's still a young guy. He still has room to grow. So let's break it down. Let's see what it is that he needs to improve, what it is that, he's already great at, and, how he can refine his game.
Yeah. And, the age thing does play a factor into a lot of the arguments too, he came into the league super young. He was 20 years old his rookie season. So he's still young and he still has a lot of room to grow at his age. So, some people take that into account and some people don't care and they just want him to be producing as a third year guy. But yeah, so what we did, the concept of this is each of us brought some clips to the table. We each chose a game and grabbed some film from it. We sent the videos to each other, but we didn't give each other any notes on what we saw from that film. So when we go watch this, we're going to be comparing notes for the first time. And, that way we can see what each of us thought about it from a different perspective without talking about it. And two different sets of eyes on the same film. What are we going to see from that? So we're going to start out with the Patriots game, the first Patriots game in Buffalo. And this was the one that I brought. And the reason I wanted to do this one was because this was a run-heavy game. This was a really run-heavy offense that they were playing against. It's Cam Newton. It's a big athletic quarterback. And so I wanted to see how Edmunds played when he was expecting the run most of the time. Because that way, we can see when there is a pass, how does he react to that when he's used to playing the run? And then also, how he was when he actually was ready to play the run and was ready to go for it. And I want to kind of see when you're prepared for that. This should really be you're at your best for the run defense.
Yeah, I'm so glad you picked this game. It's a perfect game, especially for the contrast for the game that I chose. It's perfect. We're going to get a bit of the run and we're going to get a bit of the pass. So yeah, I'm glad you picked this game.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. And let's get right into it with the play number one here. These are in chronological order throughout the game. This is play number one. It's on a 1st and 10. We've got Tremaine Edmunds here in the middle. And sorry, I got to get my notes out for this one here. And so on this one, it's Tremaine does a good job of meeting the pulling guard in the gap was what I initially saw here on this.
Same.
And that I think was just kind of the big takeaway, really. I'm going to jump all the way back. So you got Tremaine Edmunds in the middle of the defense here. We've got a guard on the far side. He's going to pull around, and you can see Tremaine identifies the play pretty quickly, gets up to the line of scrimmage, and engages the guard and really kind of clogs up that area where the running back's trying to go.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what I saw. I saw the play, and I was like, he's meeting the pulling guard in the gap for the designed run. What else could you want from him? Yeah, I guess you could hope he did it a little bit faster and, he got there to a point where he's dictating where the run has to go. But he's meeting, I think that's Thuney, right in the gap that it's designed to go, and he's disrupting the play. So, I mean, if he hangs back any bit longer, he's allowing a gap to open up. So I think there's no fault on this play. Obviously, depth of tackle comes into the conversation. But, I mean, that's about as good as it's going to get. Not much to fault him on.
Yeah, and I thought it was a pretty good play. I mean, he got to where he needed to be. He identified where the play was going, first of all, and then he met that lead blocker and made it, so that he couldn't really get a lot more yards after that.
Yeah.
So this one, I thought this was a little weird. Now, this is still early in the game, so he could have just still kind of been warming up a little bit to playing a guy that can run the ball as a quarterback in Cam Newton, because that's not something that you always see, is a lot of read option stuff. But this one I think is definitely on Edmunds. When I first watched it here, we've got Edmunds he's pretty much right over the center, maybe a little bit off to the left side of the defense there. But right here, it's going to be a read option, and Newton is letting the running back come across his face here, and he's going to read right up the middle. Edmunds really should be assigned to the quarterback. That's what I think his assignment is, because we can see AJ Klein fly out to cover the running back. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to imagine that it's supposed to be Edmunds getting the quarterback, and he sees that, keeps, and goes right up the middle.
Yeah, that's my issue with it too. He shouldn't be playing the running back. He has the athleticism to give himself a second and truly see the running back get the football before he needs to, fire to the ball carrier. He has the athleticism to make up for slower processing. So why not give himself that ability to cheat? He over cheats the potential that the ball actually goes to the running back on this read option, and it allows the offensive lineman to seal him off from the play. But yeah, like you said, it's kind of early in the game, diagnosing how Patriots are going to attack the Bills defense. So he's getting used to the read option. And I mean, it doesn't really come up a hell of a lot more in this game. So it's nice to see, because you're clipping it, obviously this is the bad one, but there aren't a lot of other bad plays of read options in this game. So he clearly learned his lesson after one bad play. But yeah, I wish he could use his athleticism as, that cheat code to just sit back, relax, and make up for it.
Yeah, and I think he does a good job of that most of the time too. Mm-hmm. But it's just this one, he just got a little excited, and usually he is pretty assignment sound. So I think this was just kind of a little bit of a fluke play where he just got distracted by that option motion there. So this one, I think I want to watch it through first before we give any opinions on it. First of all, we've got Edmunds right here in the middle. Let's just watch this one through and kind of see what the thoughts on it are. So he's dropping back into coverage. First, he chops his feet, and then he's going to drop back once he realizes it's a pass. He's got this middle zone here, and really, I don't think he does a terrible job. I think he's got a pretty decent spacing over here. And really, I want to hear your opinion on this first, actually. What were you seeing when you saw this play?
No, you're absolutely right. Like, he didn't do a bad job. It's just that he could have done a better job, and that's what fans are going to knock him for. Because, as a casual fan, it's like, oh, the ball went to his zone. Like, he should have made the play on it. And, I mean, that's true. But if you go back to the beginning, you can clearly see he's the first one dropping back into his zone. He's the one with the most depth at the linebacker position, dropping into their zone after the play action fake. So he's clearly reading it the fastest. The problem is here on the deep crosser, he doesn't identify that there is a deep crosser until it's too late. Like he can feel it. You can see him dropping back, but he doesn't get width on the drop back. He's just going back with depth, and it allows a window to open, the second window for Newton to hit.
Yeah, and that's one of the downsides of playing his own defense sometimes is right now he doesn't want to turn around and see if he can find a receiver. All he's doing is just reading Newton's eyes, and Newton's doing his job, which is stare down your middle linebacker. As long as you're staring him down, that middle linebacker is really not going to know where to go, and you wait for your guy to run out of the zone. And Newton does a pretty good job with that anticipation. But there's one thing that I do want to point out where I feel like this is one of the things where it looks like it's Edmunds' fault, but I actually think Taron Johnson should have been closer and should have been kind of in that area. And the reason is because everyone kind of gets sucked up here on the run fake. We've got Taron up here in the gap, who's essentially playing an outside linebacker at this point. And then you've got Tremaine in the middle, and you've got AJ Klein on the other side. Everyone gets sucked up by it a little bit, but Taron more so than anyone else. Taron he's still thinking,
he's like, I'm too deep. Now. I'm just gonna blitz Newton.
Yeah, so he ends up not actually blitzing, but you can even see here that. Edmunds already dropping back, Klein already dropping back, but Taron got a little bit caught up, and now he's super far behind.
No man's land.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't really think this was kind of his low zone. I don't think he's supposed to be that low in this zone. I think he's supposed to be further back up in here, kind of like how Klein, when he dropped back, look at him get width too. He did a really good job of it. He drops back and gets his width. That's exactly what I think Taron was supposed to do, which would put him right here, which is a perfect spot to cut underneath a pass, kind of like he did against Lamar Jackson in the divisional round. So I think I'm going to give Edmunds a pass on this one. He could have played it better, but I think that there should have been a little bit of extra help on the outside. And yeah, I think it was a good play by Newton as well here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's go to the next one here. This is man coverage, and we got Edmunds coming in motion. That's the main reason that we know it's man coverage. Edmunds is out wide, split out, covering a tight end first, which I wouldn't be very happy with. So I'm glad they motioned him inside, but it's man coverage, and Edmunds makes up really good ground here. It's a drop pass, which kind of sucks, but I think Edmunds actually does a good job of pursuing. He's staying above the guy he's covering, and he hits him too, even though, it's not caught. He gets to the sideline quickly, and he's able to hit the guy. I guess, he didn't really break up the play himself, but if that was a catch, he would have gotten a yard maybe. So I really think it's a pretty good play from him here. And the reaction time too, to when that snap happened, he's not that far off. So I was pretty impressed with the speed and athleticism to get over the sideline here.
Yeah, there's not much that shows up on the stat sheet from this kind of play, but this is what you want your modern day middle linebacker to do. You want him to have that sideline to sideline speed, that ability to cover the field and be rangy. That's what he's doing. He's processing the play early. He sees the tight end going out into the flat, and he's right there. Yeah, he doesn't get the tackle for it because the ball is dropped, but he's right there. He's right there to make the play, and the depth of tackle would have been like a yard or two. So it's a great play, although there's not a stat to go along with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I didn't even think about that, honestly, how this doesn't show up. It's a play that he executed well, but because it was a drop pass, we never really knew about it.
Yeah, swept under the rug.
Yeah, exactly. This one's another good pursuit, and I really like what he does here in when he engages. So this is another pull. I'm pretty sure it's oh no, he actually reaches gets to Myers here. I think is that who that is, but he does a good job. He finds out where the play is going really well. This is something that I actually think he does pretty well, is find out where the play is going. And if he can just, get there without having to worry about anybody else, he'll get there and he'll make some trouble for you. That's exactly what he does. He's going up against a wide receiver here, a pretty small one. So he just shoves him right out of the way and sits in the hole. And you can see it better from the other angle as well. But it was good pursuit, good recognition, no real hesitation from the point of the snap. He just gets over, blows that guy up, and takes the cutback away from the running back.
Yeah, you'd like to see him do that kind of stuff more against like offensive linemen. It's a shame, it was matched up against a wide receiver. You'd love to see him use that length and power combination he has to just, disengage from a blocker and make those tackles in the run game. But that specific toss play was used against the Bills multiple times by the Patriots, and it carved us up. So seeing him be able to diagnose the play and make the play on that, that schemed up play that the Patriots were continuously running against us last year. It's nice to see. There's not much you can pick apart from this play. He's in the place he needs to be, gap integrity. Yeah, and that was exactly what I was thinking too. It's just, sure, he's not doing anything crazy special or anything like that. He's just doing his job and making the tackle. 111. And yeah, exactly. He's there so that when the cutback in is forced, because you've got your outside contain out there, then he's there for the tackle. Totally missed this play. Sorry. We've got Tremaine out here. He's dropped back a lot further this time, and the recognition isn't too bad, but I liked how this was another pursuit play and an effort play. Yeah. He's on the far side of the play, and he's like 10 yards back from the line of scrimmage pretty much. He recognizes that it's a run, and then he goes all the way over and gets Cam Newton coming back to the inside. I just thought it was a nice effort play and getting across the field here. It's nothing too special. I just kind of liked that get across the field and make the tackle when you recognize. No, the point of this play is it's not processing speed or anything like that. What it shows is the ball of clay, the talent that we have in Tremaine Edmunds. He's running across the formation, catching up to Cam Newton before he gets too many yards on this. Yeah, Milano's doing his 111th to force him back to the inside and allowing Tremaine to make this tackle. But the fact that Tremaine's even in position, going across the formation like that, it just shows, once again, modern linebacker, sideline to sideline, rangy, all of those abilities. It's just going to come down to him continuously improving. And this is one of those plays. Yeah, it's not flashy, but it shows that he can have those flash moments if he can round off those edges and refine his game.
Yeah, and just watching this play again, it's hard to say who has quarterback assignment and who has running back assignment, because both Milano and Edmunds are playing the running back assignment, and Hughes also kind of seems like he's playing the running back assignment. So one of those guys should have the quarterback in this situation. And Hughes tries to go for the running back and misses the tackle on Newton. But also a good play by Ed Oliver here. He's got the double team, and I don't know if it's designed for this guy to climb to the second level. But side note, I like what Oliver did here. He shed the block and tackled the guy who didn't have the ball, but it was a cool play from him too.
Yeah, gotta count it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's another thing where it doesn't show up. He's not even involved in the play. He tackled the guy that didn't have the ball,
and that's him playing out of his natural position too. So gotta hand it to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got him in the middle again. This is you're expecting a run in a situation like this. It's a super bunched up formation. And I again, this is just finding the hole, finding where you're supposed to be. He had good recognition here once again. And he's filling the gap that he sees. And again, taking on the pulling guard. It's something that we talked about earlier. And you can see it even better from this angle. When he hits that guard, he basically pushes him back into the running back. And he gets the tackle through that offensive guard. So this is one of the plays where it's like we want him to hit those linemen. And he actually does. He comes up and gives him a little bit of a pop here.
Yeah, I mean, there were times in the cut-ups that we were watching and taking notes on where I was upset with his ability to read opposing offensive lines. But with the first play and this play specifically, these are two that show he can quickly diagnose how the offense is trying to run block, and he gets in that gap, and he gets in that gap early to disrupt the designed run. And he's getting there quickly. He's disrupting this play. Yeah, he doesn't make the tackle, but it's another example of 1/11th. It's not flashy. It's not great, but that's what your middle linebacker has to do. Just be in the right spot at the right time. And he did that.
Yeah, and you can see right here, that's where the lane is supposed to be, and there's the running back sideways trying to get through it. So I just like this one with his aggressiveness, which sometimes I think he holds back a little bit, and he'll meet the guy in the hole instead of trying to go and take him down and give him a pop. So I was glad to see that he went in there and he hit with as much as he could. This play here, I think, is another example of it looks like it was his fault, but it really wasn't. And that's because we've got Edmunds in the middle here, and the play's going to come through right off tackle on this side. But Ed Oliver gets pushed back about 3 yards into where Edmunds is pretty much. Edmunds has to go through 3 guys. One is his, and 2 are the other guys that are double teaming him to get him back. Get him back there. So this is something where it's, do you want him to make this play? Absolutely. But he is not prepared to have to go through 3 guys right here. So that's just something where it's unfortunate, and it's not really something that you plan for a lot. Sure, he could have shot up here and maybe tried to get the tackle, but I don't really think this is on him.
No, it's not. You said it. He could have shot that first, the early window gap, but then it's the same result that just happened. Or he could have scraped around and gone to the left side of that double team and then creates a cutback lane on the inside. There's really no right thing for him to do there. He just has to do what he can. And, Oliver created a bad situation for him. On my notes, I was just like, there's not much you can ask from him on this play. Like, he's doing everything he can. Like, right there, like what do you want him to do? All he can do is just dive and hope he catches a shoestring. There's not much hope on that play. Oliver made it tough, and hopefully this is where Starr comes into play next year. He can really help clean off the linebacker in the second level of our defense.
Yeah, and I like this angle too because you can see both of the gaps, and Tremaine is filling a gap. I mean, if he wanted to cut back that way, Tremaine would have that covered. And there was another linebacker, I'm not sure who it was. I just went too far back. 59. Who was that?
Andre Smith.
Smith. Thank you. That's what I thought it was. But you've got Smith in the other gap too. It's just he's got, we got a lead blocker, and that takes him out. And when it's that easy to get a double team back, and then we even have a guard with a hand on Edmunds from that. So when stuff like that happens, there's just really not much you can do about it. So it's not on him in situations like that. He's not superhuman. He can't make plays when there's nothing to be made, really.
Mm-hmm.
This one, Oliver kind of gets a little bit caught up. So it's another kind of a thing where he kind of this is the kind of the opposite of him in going and meeting someone in the hole. He's a little bit more timid, where he's just kind of hanging out. He meets the guard there, and he just kind of lets the guard bully him a little bit. And I just was a little disappointed with that, where he doesn't try to fit him up or anything. He just gets pushed around. And I think that was kind of disappointing. And this is kind of, like I said, the opposite side of him going and meeting someone in the hole. And he pretty much, it's hard when you've got a much bigger guy trying to block you. But you'd hope that he'd be able to kind of throw him off, and he really just gets dominated for most of that play.
Yeah, my initial reaction to this was I just kind of wish Horrible Harry and Justin Zimmer could have done a little bit more on that play. Like, both of those double teams absolutely knock them back, and then Shaq Mason gets to the next level and gets his hands on Tremaine. There's not much he could do, like you said, and honestly, as I put in my notes, I'd love to see him, crash that gap a little bit faster and, disrupt the play. But if he shoots up into the gap early, it just creates a different cutback lane. There's not much for him to do. You need the defensive line to play better on a lot of these plays that we're knocking Edmunds for. And that's the beauty of this end zone camera and even the sideline camera, to show how the line of scrimmage is being reset by our opposing offensive line. So this is another example of that, where hopefully Starr can fix some of those things for us next year. Hopefully that presence on the defensive line, specifically in the interior, can help out our linebacker play.
Yeah, and that was something too where I completely, forgot that to look at the defensive line there. And Zimmer got popped pretty good, and then it was an easy after he got hit. It was like, okay, cool, I can go to the next level and take on the linebacker now. Yeah, so you need guys that can take up double teams like that, and that's something that we struggled with a lot last year.
Yeah,
yeah, this one was tough. I mean, you've got Edmunds in the middle. He goes and meets the lead blocker, and I don't really have too much of an issue that he goes and meets him. I don't know. What was your opinion on this play?
My opinion was I was super happy he went and met the lead blocker as fast as he did. I would have hoped he set the edge a little bit better and forced Harris back inside, because you can see, if you can let it run to the end zone view, he just kind of lets, I don't even know who that fullback is. He lets him just force him back onto the inside, and there's a seal that creates a lane for Harris on the outside. If Edmunds gets more on the left shoulder of whoever the hell that lead blocker is, it forces Harris to cut back inside, and Andre Smith and, the rest of the Bills defense is all on the inside in between the hashes. So that's my only, grievance with this play in terms of what Edmunds could have done. I wish he was more on the left shoulder of that lead blocker that he attacked in the gap.
Yeah, and he does kind of get pushed back a little bit too. The fullback had some momentum going. I'd like him to maybe try to hit that a little bit harder. But yeah, the outside shoulder definitely would have been a much better call, instead of trying to just clog up that hole as much as he could, which is also something I didn't think about. So I'm glad you brought that up. This one, I really liked this play. Just because he does a good job. This is another recognition play and getting around where he needs to go. And Justin Zimmer really does not do a very good job. Who's the guy in front of him? We've got Zimmer over here, who's going to get double teamed again, and he's going to get pushed back right into the area where Tremaine needs to go to get around these blocks. And I think he does a good job of getting around while still reading the play, and he gets over far enough and fast enough to make the tackle. I thought it was a pretty good play.
Yeah, I think for me, the key thing I took from this play is his ability to disengage and block shed from an offensive lineman, because he shows it on this play. Although it is an offensive lineman that's quickly trying to get to the next level after shedding that double team from Zimmer, he's still able to get his hands on the offensive lineman, give him a little pushback, disengage, and make the block or make the tackle. So it's a good play. The depth of tackle argument comes back into play. But once again, that depth of tackle is influenced by the play of the defensive line in front of him. And if Zimmer gets pushed back a yard or two, that's already a yard or two that Edmunds is allowing on his depth of tackle. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's something too, where it's, if you look at this right now, we've got 2 blockers here, and then we've got 3 men here that can seal it up. So we've got 2 guys that are looking at the outside. Hughes is outside. Smith is outside. You'd think Tremaine probably has this cutback lane. I mean, it gets clogged up really quick with this double team getting pushed back. So now he has to just also go out to the outside. But I think, like I said, being able to read the ball and watch the ball still while he's, scraping across behind his defensive tackle that's getting pushed back, I thought was impressive.
Yeah.
And this is another kind of example with that. He's working through traffic and he's getting over to the sideline. You can make the depth of tackle argument here as well, but he's coming from the middle and it's a toss play to the outside. I think he does a pretty good job. He stays relatively flat. He doesn't really lose a lot of ground from where he initially is. He goes right across the field while working through traffic and making sure that guard there that's trying to cut him doesn't do anything. And he gets over and he makes the tackle. They do get yards on it, but it's better than a touchdown because I really think that, it'd be hard for him to do anything better here, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, this is that dreaded toss play again that the Patriots have just killed us with. But honestly, this play to me, it screams Tremaine Edmunds contact balance. This dude could be a running back. Like he just ate that cut block, somehow stayed on his feet, showed his range, and he made the solo tackle. Like, yeah, you could have the depth of tackle argument again, but there's no way he could reduce the depth of that tackle. He was blocked by an offensive lineman. He disengaged, managed to stay on his feet, and he made the play. Honestly, the other thing is you can visibly see Harrison Phillips like pissed at himself for not making this play. You can see him just like, oh, I'm so close to making this TFL, and he's just just gets tripped up a little bit right there, and he's just reaching like, oh, I got it. He doesn't have it.
Yeah, Harrison Phillips too. He pushes that. It's a single blocks, and he pushes it back pretty well.
It was a good play by him. It was a
pretty good play, but yeah,
there's just not much he can do when it's going to the edge like that. Like he
doesn't have that speed, and Edmunds, like, he would have to be running like a Tyreek Hill 40 to make a better play than this, just because like to get up and meet that running back faster would be just physically ridiculous. So I think this was a pretty good play as well. And overall, I think that this was not a bad game from Edmunds here. And I think that he had some bad plays, and I feel like that's going to happen for every game where you've got a few bad plays here and there. But overall, I feel like it was a pretty good job. And a lot of the things that we saw, the positive things like scraping over and working through traffic, I think he does a good job of that for the most part. When there is traffic and he has to get to the hole, he's good at reading that and getting through. It's just sometimes he gets a little bit caught up if he's not aggressive enough to get over there.
I think so much of his game is more on the mental side, where it's just he understands it. You can tell like he is the leader of that defense. Like he's really embracing that role from the second he was drafted. He was called in to be the signal caller for the defense. But you can tell he's still kind of climbing over those hurdles, just kind of day by day, year by year. He's still trying to sort out if he should play truly to his instincts or if he's like too afraid to make a mistake instead of like, eager to make a play kind of thing. He's kind of trying to find that balance. And that's my biggest concern with him in the run game, because other than that, I think he has all the tools and athleticism to go and do it. And you saw that in this game. Like he showed some of the mental processing skills and then showed how even if you're a little bit, behind the ball in terms of mental processing, his athletic ability is going to make up for it. And you saw that in the run game. But now our next game is a game where he's going to be challenged in the passing game. And I think that's somewhere he's taken a considerable step back since even his rookie year and his second year campaign. He had, 12 pass defense his rookie year and then 9 in 2019. And then he only had 3 this past year. So, I mean, I could understand why people are, kind of pumping the brakes on him as being this modern day rangy linebacker because he's not really making plays in coverage. But I think opposing offenses have started to understand that they need to start game planning about how they're going to put Tremaine Edmunds in a bind. Put him in a place where he's going to have to think a hell of a lot before he decisively makes a move and, picks his man to go fire his gun and go make the tackle on or go cover, whatever it may be. I think offenses are specifically trying to game plan about how to confuse him, because that's the only way you can beat him.
Yeah, and I think that was, I don't remember who said this, but there was someone, who was an insider who said the Ravens planned around Tremaine Edmunds with their game plan in that divisional game.
Talbot.
Damon Talbot with Draft Diamonds. He has a lot of guys that he's talked to that play for the Ravens, and he heard that the game plan was to take care of Tremaine Edmunds, basically, is make sure you know where he is and that we're getting to him and work around him. That was basically the game plan for them. And I think it speaks volumes, because other teams are worried about him because he is athletic and he can get to the hole and he can break things up. So, but yeah, this was definitely a game where this Chiefs game here, a lot of people gave him a lot of crap for it. And we're saying that, he needs to cover Kelce better. He needs to be able to cover a tight end in order to be a successful linebacker. And there are some things that he does well and some things that he doesn't. So I'll let you take the lead from here, since these are your clips, and just let me know what you want me to do. But for now, I'm just going to play. All right.
Yeah, just play and keep running back to the beginning. And just like you were doing with the first ones. But on this play, it's kind of a continuation of how he was defending the deep crossers in that Patriots game. You can see, I believe it's Hill on the bottom side of your screen. He's going to run that deep crosser, but really he's more preoccupied with keeping his eyes on Mahomes here. And as he sees Mahomes rolling, he's like, oh shit, there's two guys improvising with him and running their routes, and it's Kelce and Hill. So at that point, you're kind of screwed, like improvising between Mahomes, Kelce, and Hill. Like, you just kind of have to pick a receiver to pick up and, call it a day. He picks, taking away the deep crosser behind him. He turns his head, takes his eyes off Mahomes, takes Hill. They all bracket Hill. And then the ball goes to Kelce. So, yeah, you could say, oh, that's Edmunds' man. Like, oh, that's the tight end. No, it's just when the play gets broken like that, you just have to find the man that's open. And he finds the nearest man that's open. And they all take away Hill. And unfortunately, there's a window for Kelce to get that ball.
Yeah, and this is another thing that I was talking about earlier, where it can be a downside of playing zone sometimes, is when the improvisation starts and people are just kind of running around. This is something that Mahomes does really well when he's playing against zone, is he'll just stare at the defender and lock them in place. And then he can see where his receivers are going. So he'll stare down the defender, lock him in place, or use his eyes to move them. And then he'll throw to the guy that he wants to throw to. And he does a good job of that here, because really this is Milano's man out here. He should be getting a little more depth, but he's just reading the eyes and trying to stay with him because he knows that he wants to go to Kelce. I think Edmunds does a good job here of kind of feeling Tyreek. I'm not sure. I think that's Taryn. I'm not sure if he called a cross on it or not and let Edmunds know that Tyreek was coming over. I'm assuming he did, but he did a good job of staying with that and making sure that he picked him up. And, when it comes down to you're a linebacker covering a zone over the middle when the play breaks down, it's really tough to do it. And I do like the fact that he turned around, eventually found Tyreek and bracketed him off, because at some point, if you don't look for the guys, you're just going to get lost in no man's land in plays like that.
I agree. I completely agree. I'd honestly like to see him do it a little bit more. Just kind of like turn around, disregard the quarterback, and just pick up his man in coverage, because I think he has the mirror match kind of ability to combat some of these pass catchers. Not, as a Tre'Davious White would, but enough to, force the quarterback to make a play on his own. And I'm confident on especially the guys we got now on our front four to go and chase the quarterbacks down now.
Yeah.
So on this next play, this is a kind of wishy-washy, splitting hairs kind of play. But people say they want Edmunds to make more tackles, so I tossed it in there. What did you think, Bill Clay?
Yeah, I mean, this one, I don't blame Edmunds at all. He drops back and he's got the middle zone, so he's doing his job. He comes up and you'd like him to make the tackle, but it's an athletic tight end that he's throwing to. And also, Tre'Davious White's on a blitz here. So we've got Trey down here at the bottom. He would be covering this zone if he was not on a blitz. So Tremaine is going back and he's covering the guy that's in his zone. So I don't have any problem with what he does on that. He comes up, he starts slowing down here already. And I don't know if that's just because he respects Kelce as an athlete type of thing. And he, to the point where he doesn't want to get himself embarrassed. So he slows down and tries to be more calculated about it. I think he could have just gone for it. I mean, when it's when it's shallow like that, you know, he doesn't know he's got a bunch of guys around him, but you can probably assume that there's guys around you, especially if you know the coverage that you're running. And Milano kind of gets pulled away with the wheel route too, but I don't really have much of an issue with what he did here. Maybe could have been a little more aggressive, but that's about it.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with what he was doing in coverage because it's better to play, deep to shallow, especially against the Chiefs. That's how the Bills were defending the Chiefs in both matchups this past year. So I don't have a problem with how he was in coverage. Obviously, then you start getting to the tackle part. And honestly, yeah, you could say he should have made that tackle and it would have been nice for him to, lay the wood on him right there. But even if he does, the difference is 2nd and 1 against the Chiefs or 1st and 10. It's negligible. It's not like even a great situational tackle if he stops him short of the first down. So I don't know. I just wanted to throw it in there just to quiet that missed tackle narrative because it is a thing, but it's like, there's a time and a place where a missed tackle is like, oh my God, he should have made that tackle. And when it's like, okay, he missed that tackle, but there's 3 other Bills in the area to clean up for him.
Right. And, it's also 6'6", 260 Travis Kelce. So
oh my God,
that's
the
same size as each other. So it's not like he can go just absolutely demolish this dude. It probably, I would love to see them hit each other at full strength. I think it would be cool, but I don't think it would have made, a whole lot of a difference in that case.
No, for sure. All right, so play 3. This is a very interesting one. I'm not sure what the coverage is. I just know bottom line, Teron and Edmunds need to figure it out because they both run for Kelce in the flat, and Hill sneaks right behind Edmunds on the slant route. I think, bottom line, I think this play is Edmunds' fault. I think he has to trust his teammates and allow everyone to do their 1/11th because he sees Kelce and he's just like, oh, Kelce's a big weapon in this offense. Better go chase him. He's just in the flat. They dinked and dunked in front of us in the flat. So now I got to go pick him up and make a play. And by doing that, he just gets picked on and Hill's wide open in the window that he created.
Yeah, and I think this one is on Edmunds. I think this is a mental error for him because everything's telling me that it's a zone coverage. And based on what it looks like, you've got Milano here, Edmunds in the middle, and Johnson down here. He's dropping back into it kind of looks like a quarters. I'm not really sure what Trey's doing. I can't remember, but it's his own coverage. And when you've got 2 guys going the same way, I'm pretty sure Tremaine was supposed to be in the middle here. Just got manipulated by Mahomes' eyes and kind of followed that play fake. And he respects Kelce. Like I said, I think he's so worried about Kelce catching the ball that he's even when it's not his assignment.
Exactly. Just relax and trust your teammates. Like stay in your spot. Everyone will do their job. That's what this defense is predicated on. And yeah, that's my biggest problem with that play. I want him to trust his teammates more because he'll make the play if it comes to him.
Yeah, and again, this Mahomes is a freak, and his shoulders are pointed as if he's going to throw toward Kelce, and it's hard. I don't really know. I think he was just reading the eyes of Mahomes really, and got caught. But I'd like to see him be able to stick around there.
Yeah. All right. So this next play, it's another deep crosser play, but this is another Mahomes like magical play. It's actually very similar to that Patriots deep crosser play where it's running from the right side to the left side over and behind Edmunds. And it's another instance where he's just getting a lot of depth without getting enough width to challenge that deep crosser. Maybe, as you identified the first time, that it was Teron that was out of his spot. Now I kind of want to see if it's Teron again that's out of his spot. But
it's a tight angle, so I don't know if we'll be able to see it. But
yeah, because I didn't notice that on the Patriots one. But this one, bottom line, like he identifies that there's a crosser, which is nice. As you said, it's a problem with that zone coverage because you don't want to take your eyes off the quarterback. But you still need to be able to identify if there's someone crossing behind you. So he's doing that, but even by doing that, he's still being threatened. And I think Mahomes like kind of challenges him in that first window with the pump fake. And once that happens, he takes a false step and he has to get that width again to the left or the right of Edmunds. So it's tough. This is just a great play. Like he makes that throw before Kelce's even cleared Edmunds. Like 2 to 3 yards before Kelce's he's already starting to throw. Or that's the pump fake. That's the pump fake. Sorry.
Yeah,
But either way, like
still.
It's crazy. Like, that's just so anticipatory. That's just a great play by Mahomes and Kelce. Obviously, I'd love to see Edmunds start like diving and getting a hand on those passing lanes, but like that's just an incredible offensive play.
Yeah, it's a really good play, and I honestly think Edmunds does a pretty good job of realizing who's in his zone and sticking with him. He's got 17, comes in, and he kind of goes with him. He's like, oh, he's going over here. I'm going to move to the middle. And then he already is identifying Kelce coming over the middle too. I'm not sure if Milano, again, is yelling at him, hey, you got a guy coming across. But even if that's the case, he identifies, and then he goes over and covers, and now he's got his eyes on the quarterback. Probably ends up hurting him a little bit because the pump fake, but I still think that it was a fine play from Edmunds, and yeah, just a really good throw. I mean, it's in the perfect spot. He led the ball perfectly. It's hard to beat perfection. So I do want to go back though and look and see if that was supposed to be Terrence or not.
Yeah,
just because I'm not sure either, and I don't even know if it was. I mean, I don't even think it was bad from him. He's pretty even with where the other outside backer is. I don't really have an issue with how he played it. He doesn't know Kelce's over there. So I think it was just really good offensive play and a great play design.
Exactly. And that's the point of bringing this tape on air, because this is probably his toughest game tape to evaluate, because there's just not even to evaluate, just his toughest game. Like, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Their offense is just, they know what they're doing to pick you apart, and they have so many different ways to do it. Like, if you counter one of their ways to do it, they'll counter right back. So it's great tape to evaluate, to really break down his coverage abilities. I actually wanted to ask you on this play, what the hell you thought this coverage was, because I can't tell. I wrote quarters. You can see it in the end zone. But as I keep watching it, I'm like, is it Tampa 2? And there's just no one threatening the shallow boundaries for these corners to come up and play the shallow part of that zone on the boundaries. I just can't tell, because Edmunds sticks to Kelce as if it's Tampa 2, and then leaves Hill wide open at the 5-yard line, and Poyer just has to like replace for his displacement.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly am not sure. Whatever Edmunds is doing, he's playing like he's in man coverage. If that's the case, he's the only guy in the defense in man coverage, because everyone else is playing zone. So I don't think that's a play design, unless they're like, hey, Edmunds, just cover Kelce one-on-one. We'll take care of everything else. Very strange, because look at him turn and run. He's not concerned about anything else going on. He's just running with Kelce.
So weird.
And everyone else.
And even Poyer takes a step. With Kelce on the top of that route. Like, it seems like this has to be a play where it's on Edmunds. It's another mental mistake on Edmunds, because if Poyer, why is Poyer taking a step towards the middle if Tremaine's like literally tunnel visioned on Kelce? He should just replace his position in the middle of the field. I don't know. This one boggles me. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was really confused by it too. I don't understand why he's playing man coverage. Every other guy here, that zone, man, he's the only one doing it. And if he were to stop right here and be like, oh, he's kind of running out of my zone, and he turns around and looks back for the quarterback,
he can make an interception.
He would make a play on the ball. So I'm just very confused as to why he stuck with him in this situation. He knows he's got over the help top in the middle. So I don't know why he decided to play him so closely underneath, when he could have just stopped and played the zone underneath, because he's got that over the top help. He can just sit down there and force Mahomes to throw it over his massive body, pretty much.
Big oops.
It was an Edmunds oops. Yeah, I thought this was kind of a funny play, because I was like, is there a new play where only one guy on the team is in man coverage? But yeah,
I don't think that's pretty funny. No, I don't think that's a thing. Oh man, what is this one? Okay, so this is a quick one we can just go over. This is one where I'm just kind of being an asshole trying to quiet narratives, and I'm just like, okay, this guy's doing everything he can in the middle of his zone, and he's got two guys on him. He picks up one, makes the tackle on the one that eventually gets the ball. I don't know. Yeah. There's not much to evaluate on this play. He's just getting overwhelmed in his zone.
Yeah, my biggest note was great offensive play design. I mean, you've got essentially a bunch formation with this guy in motion. So you've got 3 receiving threats all right here close to the end of the line of scrimmage. You got one guy who's going up. I can't remember if he cuts out. I think he might be breaking out toward the corner here. But you have to take the guy that's high. So Tremaine drops back. He takes the guy that's in his zone that's higher up. He leaves the guy shorter. It's a really good play design where you're isolating Edmunds with 2 different wide receivers and making him choose which one he wants to take.
Yeah, this one, there's not much more you can ask from him. He's playing 2 guys in his zone, and he makes the tackle on the one that eventually gets the ball. So I have no problem with this play. I honestly probably shouldn't have even thrown it in here because it's such a neutral play. There's not.
I mean, yeah, but some people might look at that and be like, well, why isn't he up closer? So it's one of those things where it's just a good offensive play design, really, and he did his job to the best ability that he was able to.
Yeah, and honestly, more than anything, it's probably another one where it's evidence of offense's game planning to pick on Edmunds because it's just the only way, like if you're not picking on him and trying to deceive him, he's going to make the play on you. So if you overwhelm him in that way, it's easier to make a play in his zone.
Yeah, definitely.
God knows you don't want to throw in Tre'Davious White's zone.
No, that's probably not a good idea.
Got to find somewhere to throw to.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think really it was I didn't have any problems with that play at all.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one where it kind of gets into the concept of him not trusting his instincts, him not processing fast enough, or at least having confidence in his processing, because he takes a false step here after the play is seemingly made. Like you can see what the play design is. He still takes a false step, but then because of that false step, it shows how his athleticism can help him recover and play better than most at his position because he's just so damn athletic.
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry.
No, you got it. No, you got it. I had nothing more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, it's kind of like what we were talking about in the last, with the Patriots game too. He hesitates a little bit, and which I think is funny. There's a play coming up that is similar to this that we'll talk about. But this is, it's pretty good pursuit. He meets the guy in the gap, which he's good at identifying where the play is, and he makes the tackle. There was one thing I noticed while watching this play that I really liked, and it's Justin Zimmer. And I think this is a really cool, this is a good example of where Justin Zimmer adds value to the team. He's the far side defensive tackle here. He's in a 1-tech 2-eye, and I think watch him as he engages, how quickly he identifies where the play's going, and then he scrapes all the way across. Oh, he's so fast for a big dude. And he just does.
I have another play of him doing that too.
Yeah.
I'm going to touch on him again.
He does a really good job of doing that. And what he actually does is he takes the block of this pulling guard that's supposed to be getting the linebacker because he did such a good job of getting across. And that's another thing where your defensive line can make your linebacker better if they do their job really well. And that's one of those cases where in this case, Zimmer's taking up a block so Edmunds can make the tackle.
Yeah, no, and that's why defensive line play is so key for these linebackers. And it's just that false step that gets me. I don't understand why he steps backwards after the ball is pitched to the running back. It really baffles me. I don't understand why he did that. He could just trust himself and make the play. However, because he took that false step, he honestly gave himself a little bit of distance between the offensive linemen coming to try to get to that second level, and it allowed him to make a play from it. So, I mean, you could play devil's advocate on both sides of that. But yeah, it still bothered me. I wish he could have just trusted his instincts, because that's something personally that I want him to take the next step on this year, just trusting his instincts.
Yeah, and that little false step there was a little strange, but there's a play coming up soon that we'll harp on it a little bit more.
Yeah, you're not going to see that false step. It's going to be nice. So this play is interesting because you can't really pick on Edmunds too much for it, but it's one where I'd like to see him diagnose how the offense is trying to attack him. And you see Kelce go in motion to the bottom side of your screen, and there are 0 routes on the top side of the screen. There is a tight end still attached to the top side of the offensive line relative to this camera angle, but he's not a tight end that the Chiefs have used, like outside of, little slip screens every now and again. And even if there was a slip screen, there's teammates that could help him out on the top side of the field. So as I saw Kelce going in motion there and just some bum inline tight end on the other side, I was hoping that Edmunds would, shade a little bit back towards the bottom side of the screen and get the hell on Kelce. Not much is made from this play, though. Kelce just falls down like immediately after. I guess that's just kind of hindsight bias more than anything. But yeah, I just kind of wish he could have diagnosed how the offense was attacking him a little bit better.
Yeah, I'll agree. I think I don't know if this is a game planning issue or it's an execution issue. But with the rollout like this, where you've got all your eligible receivers, like you said, except for one, you've got them all over here bunched up on one side of the field. And then we've got a sprint out to that side too. So I think, I'd like to see him, instead of bringing his head back to Mahomes here, he identifies the guy that's in his zone that he should be covering. I think he should just go cover him instead of trying to look back and play smart or anything. Just go run to that guy. And if he did, he falls over or whatever. But if he hadn't done that, maybe it's a closer tackle. Maybe he can get a hand in there. It's just kind of something where it's not terrible, but it could have been better, type of a thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing where it's like the mental part of it, where it's like it seems like he's afraid to make a mistake. Like, why is he being so like, oh, I got to stay in my zone. And then on that other play, he's dropping in playing man on Kelce. Like, why are those little inconsistencies happening where he's okay with deviating from the seemingly we think the play call is. And then on this play, he's like so unwilling to deviate from that play call. So obviously this one's also kind of tough because he's lined up like as a potential blitzer in the A gap. So it's tough for him to kind of get back out and guard that route. But either way, once he is back out into coverage, you would like to see him be a little bit more decisive and pick that route.
Yeah, and him being at the line of scrimmage too definitely doesn't help. But we got a super chat from Scott. Thank you very much, Scott. Even though Josh Allen is on the 5th-year option and so is Edmunds on the 5th-year option, do you think we can extend them a long-term deal next year, both of them, even though we don't know what the cap is going to look like next year? That's a good question, honestly. I'd have to look into a little bit more, but do you know when that TV deal kicks in? That new TV deal?
I'm assuming it's 2023. I think it's after next year's on the books. So the 5th-year option is 2022. So we're paying Josh Allen $23 million and Tremaine Edmunds, both of them north of $23 million, and then Edmunds is north of $12 million. And then in 2023, that's when they would be unrestricted free agents when that extension, whatever contract it may be, kicks in. So because potentially, that TV deal, just me says 2023, that's when I believe the TV deal is supposed to kick in. So hypothetically, we should have the additional cap space to extend both of these guys and still maintain a roster that, is well-rounded, doesn't have a whole lot of holes everywhere. So I think it's possible.
I think it's possible too. And if they do any kind of extension, it'll be just that. It'll be an extension where they're going to make this essentially the same amount of money for those last 2 years of their contract. And, even if it's after this year that they get signed, they're going to use the salary from that 5th-year contract, which is, similar to what the Chiefs did with Mahomes, so that it doesn't kick in. But then, since that TV deal kicks in 23, that's going to be perfect because now we can start to pay a little bit more money. Probably the cap hopefully will go up by then, and can kind of front load those contracts if we're keeping both of those guys for a long time. Front load those contracts, and then that way you pay the big money early, and then it kind of tapers off there, and you can continue to build the team. Which I think, it also kind of plays into how they drafted by drafting the expensive positions so they can have them on rookie deals. So that might play into it too. And we'll see if Darrell Williams is gone after this year or not, because of the price tag on him. And maybe they go with one of those rookies to try to save some cap space.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question.
That are in that same boat. Yeah. Yes, great question.
Anyway, where were we? This was the Kelce play. All right, talk to me about this.
Yep, this is the play we're on. So this is one where I think Edmunds once again is trying to make a play when he doesn't have to. He's getting manipulated by Mahomes' movement, manipulated by Mahomes' threat as a runner, which he showed in our first regular season matchup against him. He just constantly was being really annoying on those scrambles. Like every time we felt like we had a third down stop, he would just scramble and make a play of it. So it seems like Edmunds is really threatened by that potential for him to go off and scramble to the top side of your screen. And because of that, it takes him out of his zone, and Hill sneaks across him on a deep crosser, and he's just wide open. Hill doesn't catch the ball in Edmunds' zone, but he would have reduced the window. He would have reduced the passing window if he stayed home, if he was more true to where his zone was supposed to be. So I'm not saying Edmunds should have made this play, but he should have made the play harder than it was.
Yeah, and this is another one where it's tough because you're in zone coverage, and if you don't find your guy, you're going to get manipulated by the quarterback size if it's a smart quarterback. And when you're playing, a top 2 quarterback in the league, that's pretty tough. So, you can fault him because he is just reading the eyes of the quarterback, and he should be trying to find someone in his zone. I think he kind of glances over, maybe out of the corner of his eye, he sees a little bit of red flash by him. And I don't know why he keeps going that way, but all he's doing is just watching Mahomes. I think it's actually when he does look back, it ends up being, he cuts back right after Mahomes does. Great play by Mahomes, by the way, working through a bunch of traffic there from AJ Epinesa and making that play. It's tough when you're a linebacker. The one thing I did notice about this is that play where he hesitated earlier. This is a counter to that play. It's the same motion that Mahomes is making, that fake toss outside. And that's why Mahomes hesitated, because he thought that's why Edmunds hesitated, because he thought Mahomes still had the ball. And it's funny because this time he doesn't hesitate. So he got fooled out on earlier, and then he's like, okay, I'm not going to let them get me on it again. And then they did it the opposite way and got him. So
I love that you caught that because I made this cut up and I didn't even catch that. So I'm so happy you caught the counter to that shotgun toss play. That's clearly Edmunds is doing film study. Clearly he knows how the Chiefs are trying to attack, and clearly he knows that play is in their repertoire. And unfortunately, he got on both versions of it.
Yeah, I just think that's pretty funny that, they ran it one way trying to get him, and he thought about it too much probably and was like, oh, he still got the ball. And then, later on, he's like, don't think about it, just go. And he was wrong again. So I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, not great. Well, at least he knows, at least he's doing his film work. Let's hit these super chats before we get to this play.
Got another one from Scott. Thank you, Scott.
Let's see. All right. So I'm guessing this this is a separate thought. All right. And your opinion, how's Jerry Hughes the last 3 to 4 years, and how he can mentor a couple edge rushers that we got in the draft this year? Do you think we should extend Jerry Hughes a couple more years? Clay?
Extend, I don't know. And that's just because they just drafted 2 young guys likely to take his place. As much as we love Jerry Hughes and I'd like him to be a Bill his entire career, I don't know, first of all, how much more he's got left in the tank. He definitely has games where he is noticeable. And I think a lot of people criticize him for not getting sacks, or, he doesn't get to the quarterback fast enough. It's a different game than it used to be. Quarterbacks are mobile. They can get rid of the ball fast. And so it's tough to get sacks. And there are times when Jerry Hughes is making an impact on the play, even if it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. So I do think he still has value to the team for sure while he's under contract. Not sure if they would want to re-sign him. But I also do like him as far as mentoring those guys. Jerry Hughes has a really good speed rush, and I don't think that's a specialty of either of the guys that the Bills just drafted. So I'm excited for him to be able to kind of teach them how to do that as effective as possible before he ends up moving on. What's your thoughts on that?
Unfortunately, I love Hughes. I think he still adds value to this team, but unfortunately, I think this is his last year, and it's because of the, pending Josh Allen extension, pending Tremaine Edmunds extension. Obviously, the Edmunds one is a little bit more murky. There's no way to really project how that's going to go. I think that's all a lot more dependent on the next 2 years. Not to say Josh Allen's isn't, but yeah, we have to find ways to cut corners financially. And now that we have our franchise quarterback and we want to lock him up, we need to find different ways to cut corners financially. And I think Brandon Beane did that in this draft by drafting premium positions like edge rushers and tackles. What it tells me is that they want to move on from guys that they're paying a lot of money, like Mario Addison, Jerry Hughes, both of which I could see them absolutely both making the team this year. But extending them beyond this year, it would have to be not a vet minimum, but something like lower, more manageable, more team friendly. I don't know. I think he's a great mentor. He's great for the locker room for right now, longest tenured Bill on the team. But past this year, it's going to be about the financial game as much as it is the on-field product. So
yeah, and with the emergence too of AJ Epinesa, who started playing a lot better later in the season, and now you just drafted two guys to come in and play that position. And like we said, it's an expensive position. That's probably why they wanted to go and do that, so that they could have those guys on rookie contracts and keep it as cheap as possible, because they're going to have to pay Josh and probably Edmunds too. Thank you very much, Scott, for that again. We've got AK Cash. Thanks for doing this, guys. This is great. Thank you, man, for being here and watching with us. I appreciate it. And that goes for everyone else in the comment section too. Thank you for watching with us. This is Kendall and I's first show together doing this. So, it's something we're just getting started in as well. So thank you for being here and thank you for watching. Thank you for the donation too.
Yeah. Working out the kinks.
And then we got
Paulie
Crew. That's a cool name, and with the Paul Crew picture too, the throwback one though. I like that.
Is that Bert?
Yeah, that's Bert. Yeah, is it Bert? I think it's him.
I don't know. I can't tell.
I'm pretty sure it is. But is the contract offered to Matt Milano an indication the long-term deal for Edmunds is up in the air? How much can we pay for our linebacker room? I don't think I'm completely fine with the amount of money that we paid Milano. They didn't overpay for him. I think he actually probably got less than market value. He definitely could have gone somewhere and gotten more money, but he wanted to stay and play in Buffalo. And so he probably took a little bit less money to do that. And I don't know. I still think you want to re-sign Edmunds to long-term just because he's the quarterback of the defense essentially. And, that's his job to run that defense, and it's really hard to find someone else who can come in and fit that role, especially in a McDermott defense, where he's, he has a lot of his middle linebackers. McDermott does in his offense, and that's why a guy like Luke Kuechly, who is actually a freak and a genius and can identify things immediately, who very rare talent. Having a guy like that is really like, you need someone that can do a little bit of everything. I'd say Edmunds has a lot of potential. I don't know if he has Luke Kuechly potential, but I think he has a lot of potential and can do a lot of those things. And it'd be really hard to find a replacement for that.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on the Panthers stuff, because I'd like to look into the cap situation for that linebacker room. I don't know. I know it's Kuechly, Thomas Davis. Was Shaq Thompson on the team at the same time as those other two? If he was, it was probably a rookie deal, so it probably wasn't too expensive. The point of where I'm going with this is it seems like that's a position group that the Bills Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott are okay with sinking money into, because they understand the importance of that position, that second level of the defense. I'm in the same boat as you though, where I'm leaning much more towards we should extend Edmunds. Obviously, it's not set in stone, but that's where I'm leaning. Like, obviously, there's still more room for judgment and evaluation, but yeah, that's where I'm leaning.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And yeah, that's a good point you brought up about the linebackers. And Bruce had a similar idea. Hi, Bruce. Thanks for joining. Having the linebackers in Carolina that he did, they traded up for Edmunds. He probably won't have a problem paying two linebackers, because those two linebackers are really important in McDermott's system. So wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. All right, where were we?
Yeah, let's get back into it. I got a bone to pick with Mr. Vernon Butler on this play. If you watch the line of scrimmage here, there's one thing that isn't like the others, and it's Vernon Butler. He's getting pushed back into the end zone. Yeah. I mean, I suppose if you look at, not where the play's going, Mario Addison isn't doing a great job either, but that's not where the play's going, so I don't really care. If you let it play to the end zone and then run it back from there, you can see in this end zone cam, I mean, what do you want Edmunds to do? With Mario Addison's ass in his face, there is nothing Edmunds can do. He can pick a gap on the left, and Edmunds will cut it back inside of Ed Oliver's left shoulder. And even if Ed Oliver's, making that arm tackle, I'd like to think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to fall forward for 1 yard, even though he's only like 5'6". I'd still like to think he can fall forward into the end zone. And then, yeah, if Edmunds chooses the right gap, like he did a little bit late, but if he chooses the right gap, he's just, taking the risk for a shoestring tackle. So there's just not much that could be had on this play.
Yeah, it's essentially, those big barriers on the highway where they've got all those barrels of water in case you crash into it. That's essentially what this lineman is creating by driving Vernon Butler back into the end zone. He's creating a Y in the road, and Tremaine just has to choose which path he wants to take, because Edwards-Helaire is probably going to take the other one. And maybe he gets lucky and he happens to run into him, but there's not a lot that you can do when your defensive lineman really just gets pushed right back into you, and what do you want him to do? It's a really tough play.
Yeah, that's all I got on that play. I just needed to show it, because it's like, I love my Mike linebacker to just go up and stick his nose into that running play and, knock him on his ass, but it's not going to go that way every time. It's everyone has to do their 1/11th for that to even be a possibility.
Yeah, and we complimented his ability to read the ball and know where the play's going, but in a situation like this, how are you supposed to read that? How are you supposed to read that offensive lineman, that defensive lineman, when it's clearly not going well for you guys? So, it's such a bang play here. At full speed, it's how are you going to do that?
All right, so this is another similar one where he's just kind of being overwhelmed in his zone. He does the right thing again, plays the Chiefs defense how they've been taught, play everything deep to shallow, and he takes away Kelce on the intermediate in route. And then I think that's Mecole Hardman, who just kind of sticks at the 50-yard line, and he gets in there and he assists on the tackle. It's another quick one to evaluate. He does his job, he does his 1/11th, and then he does what he can once the play is made and the ball carrier is established.
Yep, it's another play where they're trying to isolate one of the guys in the zone. So good offensive play design. You've got Kelce coming up over top, and when he breaks to the inside, whoever's in the middle has to take him. The Kansas City got a little bit lucky on the play too. Matt Milano here, the outside backers blitzing. Poyer up here is going to kind of come down and fill that zone instead, and he's a little bit outside. He could have come inside maybe a little bit more. You'll see Jordan Poyer down there, and you kind of got Tre'Davious and Poyer in kind of the same spot. So I'm not sure who was supposed to be the inside man there. One of them should have been more inside than the other, would be my guess.
I ended up calling this cover 3, and Tre'Davious just didn't have anyone threatening his deep third, so he's just kind of in no man's land.
That makes sense. Yeah, and you can't fault Poyer too much. There is a guy out here that is a threat to catch the ball and go down the sideline, so he's protecting that as well. Exactly. So I think it's just a good play design. Really, you've got two guys that are cutting in the same spot, and you're, probably going to throw to that guy that's underneath.
And you said it too with the luck of just the play call that the Bills had too. It takes someone out of the area that the ball eventually went. But once again, hindsight.
Yeah, and I think Tremaine does everything he can here. Covers the guy that's over the middle. That's his job, and that's what he does.
Yeah. All right. So this next play is probably one of his best examples of coverage. It's easier. It's one of the easier examples, or not examples, but it's one of his easier reps. But they run two crossers right in front of his face, and he splits the difference in between them. One goes behind him, and he allows one right in front of him. But he's covering two people right now. Like this is an example where he's being overwhelmed in his zone, but he's also covering two people. So I just love this rep.
Yeah, and it's exactly what he's supposed to be doing. He's got Tyreek Hill coming behind him. He's got 13. Can't remember who it is. I think he's Kringle. Is that it? Pringle? Pringle McCringle. I don't know. I knew he had a funny name. I just couldn't remember what it was. But he does exactly what he's supposed to do. Let the guy over top go behind you and cover underneath, because you've got two guys over the top to help with them, and then you've got your one guy underneath, and make sure that if he does catch the ball, that you're there to make the tackle. And that's exactly what he does. Obviously they go to Kelce instead, but he had that covered up pretty well.
Yeah, and even going to Kelce, like Milano couldn't even do anything. I mean, you could go. I don't even think you could see it on the end zone, but you could see it there. Yeah, Milano's playing inside leverage, and it's an out route to the sideline. Like there's nothing Milano could have even done.
Yeah, it's it's a quick out with a really athletic tight end, and what are you gonna do about it?
Nope, you move on. All right, so this might be I don't know. Every play that's good from Edmunds is my favorite play. What am I talking about? But this one's incredible. I think this play is the poster rep for why you draft Tremaine Edmunds. You know that, modern day linebacker needs to be rangy, cover the sidelines, do everything on the field. He is taking the edge away from Tyreek Hill on a jet sweep. Tyreek Hill is pretty much guaranteed like 5 yards on every jet sweep, unless Aaron Donald's like fucking up the play and he's already in the backfield. The jet sweep to Tyreek Hill, like I swear the Chiefs could run it 5 plays in a row and never have a negative play. Tremaine does everything he has to do. That false step play that we were both talking about earlier, this is the antithesis to that. He is firing straight to the sideline and making sure Tyreek can't scrape around that edge, just run along the sideline and get into the end zone. And I'll try to time it for the pause. Pause it right there-ish. Yeah.
Wait, at the beginning here? Sorry.
No. You had it. Through the end zone cam.
Okay.
When he's turning the corner right here-ish, if Edmunds is like a yard or two, slower than he is on this play, if he's a yard or two slower, Tyreek has a window where he can either cut it in front of Poyer's face and just go sideline, take it to the end zone, or he has a window because Edmunds isn't where he is. He's, say, a yard or so to the right. He has a cutback lane to the right of Poyer and to the left of Edmunds, and we all know how fast Tyreek Hill is. He can weave through just about any gap on the field. So the point I'm trying to make is the fact that Edmunds is even here is exactly why Hill cuts it straight to the boundary to try and get around him and try and use his speed and get around someone who has freakish speed for 6'5", 250. So I just love this play.
Yeah, super athletic play. This is probably the best show of his athleticism. And you're right. If he's a step slower, 7'5's getting that block. He's going to get that block if Tremaine Edmunds is one step slower, but he's fast enough to just get around him. Even when he's got a couple of yards of head start. It's a race from here on who gets there first, and Tremaine's going to win that super easily. And yeah, when you're tackling a guy that's that fast and you're kind of keeping up with him, almost getting to the sideline to an extent. I mean, he's cutting up the field after a while. And by the way, he did still get like 5 yards plus on this play. It's just, he's so fast. You don't even notice how many yards he's getting, but it's so fast.
It's so fast. So I love that play. That's the play where it's like, okay, this dude is an athlete. Let's coach him up. And we should all have the confidence in our coaching staff, especially with the past, 4 years that this regime has showed us. So.
Yeah, someone mentioned in the comments they're talking about Poyer as well, doing a good job. I think is what you're mentioning there. Just me plug the hole, and that caused Hill to go wide so Edmunds could get there. Yeah, Poyer also really good at another guy where he knows where the ball's going to go. He can identify it and he can go plug that hole. And he's also not that big, but he will throw his body around like he weighs 270. So he's another guy that's a huge asset in the run game.
What a play.
Okay.
All right. So this play is potentially the play I have the biggest gripes with. It really grinds my gears for whatever reason.
I don't think if my notes are the same as yours, or if we're thinking of the same play, I can't imagine it is. Sorry, let's watch it though. Okay, no, I have my notes wrong. I was gonna say, this is definitely not it. So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No worries. I was curious. So he's on I think it's an 8-gap blitz. But he's blitzing down the interior of the offensive line, and he gets picked up by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's he's 200 something pounds, not too much bigger than 200 pounds, but he's like 5'6", 5'7". I'd like to see Tremaine Edmunds just kind of knock him on his ass right there. That'd be preferred. But, this is exactly what you can't do. You just can't get bullied by someone that much. Like, he's getting cleared out. He's like, that looks like a tackle blocking Tremaine Edmunds right now. He's doing such a good job in pass protection. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on that rep. Like, I'm just at a loss of words when I see Edmunds losing that one-on-one. Obviously, there's the leverage discussion. Obviously, like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire being, I think, just about a foot shorter than Edmunds. He's winning the leverage battle every time, unless Edmunds, like, gets on his knees. But I don't know. I'd like to see Edmunds learn how to gain that leverage on those kind of players and just bully right through them.
Yeah, and I was going to mention the leverage too. I mean, the low man wins, and it's, I mean, he's like standing straight up. You got to get lower, man. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly.
Staying high at contact. Like, that's what he does. Like, he just kind of throws his arms around and stays high.
There's nothing he's trying to do to get around him. He's not dropping his shoulder. He's not doing anything. And yeah, he's running in a straight line into this guy who's in a very good stance. Look at him. He's basically about to do some squats, and he's going to throw Edmunds upward. And that's not good. Get your weight low. If you're going to go through that guy, go through him as if you're tackling him. Put him on his ass and go tackle the quarterback.
Exactly.
This was, definitely not good. And so I'm glad that we're on the same page. And I also hated this play.
I needed to throw that in there just to prove that I'm not analyzing Edmunds with my bias of saying that he's better than what everyone's bashing him to be. Like, this is a play, like, we can all agree. Everyone who's a Bills fan and wants us to win the Super Bowl, wants Edmunds to be a future Hall of Famer, all of these things. He needs to get better. Like, that can't happen. That's unacceptable.
Yeah. And, he has bad plays, and we'll admit when Everyone he has bad plays, we're not homers to that extent. When he has bad plays, we're going to point him out. And that was just embarrassing. Yeah,
it wasn't it. Oh boy. So close your eyes, Bills fans. This is that Tyreek Hill play. I just remember this play so distinctly from this game because it was the second consecutive play that they decided to play man, because the play before they sacked Mahomes for like a 2-inch loss. And they were like, oh, that worked. We should play man again. And then the Chiefs were like, all right, you want to play man? We'll counter you with a Tyreek Hill slant, and that's ball game. And that's exactly what happened. Really, the point of emphasis for Tremaine Edmunds on this play is he gets caught within the play action fake, and it sucks him up and takes him out of the passing lane to defend that slant. But then if you're trying to get mad at him for missing the eventual tackle, scraping back, or not scraping, just running, recovering back to try and get his hands on a shoelace of Tyreek Hill, this isn't a tackle I'm expecting linebackers to make. It's one I'm hoping, I'm hoping he makes, but this is not a tackle I'm expecting him to make.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It's hard to expect him to make this tackle. The guy's super fast. He's trying to protect that inside as much as he can. He's trying to make sure that cutback doesn't happen. And when it does happen, he reacts and does everything he can. He extends almost as far as he can and gets a hand on the hip. He was probably so close, and because he's so short, Tyreek Hill is so short. Maybe on a different guy, this hand is on like a low thigh, and it's tripping him up. But it's on Tyreek Hill's waist, which is going to be the most stable part of his body right now, and so he's just not able to get enough power. Who I will criticize though are the two guys right behind him who are both defending the outside, and no one's ready for that cutback, and so. You can't have that. He's doing everything that he can. And I think, everyone's facing this direction, and it's a cutback that gets both of those guys there, and you just can't have that.
This is just for funsies. This is another Justin Zimmer, beautiful rep here. Look at him chasing down Tyreek. Like he's gaining ground or anything, but he's keeping up.
He's keeping up really well.
That 10 RAS score that he had and held on to for a long time, this play just showed it. That's where the tape and the RAS score meets.
Yeah, and I liked watching Zimmer on this play. And this is even a play that Tyreek Hill talked about, I think, the next week when he was being interviewed about, who was someone that surprised him. And he was like, yeah, just that whoever 61 is, I thought he was going to kill me. And I think it was right about here after this cutback right there. I think he saw him out of the corner of his eye and he was like, oh my God. And he thought,
what is this dude doing all the way down here?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he saw a big mass and he was like, that's not supposed to be there. But yeah, really cool to watch him just all the way from up here and after pursue all the way down the field. That's one of the reasons I love the dude. He'll make bad plays where he gets blown up, but then he makes plays like this where it's just like the effort and the athleticism shows through. So I think that's honestly probably going to be a pretty common theme with Zimmer is, damn it, what are you doing? And then, oh my God, that was incredible.
I feel like this is a terrible hot take that I shouldn't be throwing out here, but I kind of want to see Justin Zimmer play special teams.
That's actually I like that actually.
Hunt coverage or something like that. Like obviously his change of direction skills are probably leaving something to be desired, but yeah, straight line speed like this dude has it. And he could also, block on the portion where you're, protecting your punter, things like that. So I don't know. He's an athlete. He could find a way onto this team if he, carves out more snaps on special teams in addition to what he already does as a defensive tackle.
Yeah, and he is so athletic that I think he'd be able to do it. Like you said, the straight line speed. I really like Zimmer. Like I said, he's a very like good play, bad play, and not much in between. But the effort's always there, which I love with him.
Yeah, you gotta love that all the time.
All right.
So this next play, this was a tough one for me to diagnose because it seems like the play design was a shotgun counter play. But I actually couldn't tell if it was just the running back deviating from the play call. Cause the blocking was going to the right side and you could see, Edmunds, everyone funneling to the left side where there was a clear gap opening up. And then because of that over pursuit from everyone on the Bills defense, it forces the play back over to the right. I can't decipher. I think it's a counter, but I was teetering.
Yes, I think it's counter as well. And the reason it took me a while to figure it out, but it was all in Williams and his what he was doing, basically what his body was saying. And right here, he's already looking back toward that hole, and there's no way he knows that Edmunds is going to fill that gap. I mean, he's, there's a free guy over there, but you've got Kelce coming across. And I think the goal is with Kelce coming across like this is to get the motion going that way and trying to get those linebackers to scrape that direction. So I do think it's a counter as well. And you can kind of see, both of these guys with the motion, them going that way, lines going out the other way, and then that cut down before he's even got the ball and before he can even see Edmunds. I still don't have a problem with Edmunds I don't have too much of an issue because it ended up being okay. If he had done that and there was a big hole because Harry didn't make a great play, then I would be a lot more upset on this one. But Milano, I don't know how he ended up getting in there as well, but he did a really good job being aggressive and engaging that offensive tackle and getting in there for the tackle as well. That was a good block
shed right there. Yeah. I think the interesting thing with Edmunds on this play is because I wonder what he's keying on, because he's clearly not keying on what the offensive line is doing as a unit. Because if he was, he wouldn't have committed so hard to that side of the field. So it seems like he's either keying on the running back or Kelce, who's coming over on that like split zone block type of scheme. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I would have to think he's reading Kelce. I'm not sure. Maybe he is reading the running back. But you can see even Milano is going downhill as if the play's coming into the middle. I think he's reading the lineman more than Edmunds is, the offensive lineman, that is. Because Edmunds immediately starts flowing this direction, which, obviously is the goal, what the Chiefs are trying to do is get the linebackers to do that. Poyer's doing it too. That's because he was lined up overhead of Kelce. So I think that's why he was doing it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We've got Bruce chiming in. Thank you, Bruce. Edmunds is keying Kelce for the RPO tight end league. That makes a lot of sense. And let's take a look and see. Okay.
Ooh, yeah. That's probably that like little shuffle pass that they like to do off that play. That's probably, no, that's a great point.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, because they do with a motion like that, they'll do a forward pitch sometimes, and then also, yeah, and an RPO if he just keeps going out. Yeah, Chiefs, yeah, yeah, that little shovel pass is dangerous, and then also he could leak out to the sideline. So I'm okay with it if that's who he's keying on. Harrison Phillips.
Ultimately, the play was mitigated, so we feel a lot better.
Yes, yeah, and I do really think Harrison Phillips made a good play here. He starts on the double team. It's not a great double team. 7-3 kind of disengages early, but he gets the guy off him and he hits in the gap. So I like that play. He got pushed back a little bit, but pretty good play.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna jump back to John DeMarchi's super chat here. Thank you, John. He's jumping back to Zimmer. Colts up 10-7, second and goal, Buffalo 1 yard line. Go watch what he did to all-pro Quentin Jefferson on that play. One play later, assuming that's Teron Johnson, makes tackle. Bills hold on fourth down. Allen drives 96, and we win. Watch the rep. Trust me. That's a rep I actually want to go back and see. If it's Zimmer against Quentin Nelson, that's one where I could, my scope on what he's going to do making this roster could change because I think he's a fringe guy, but I could see a rep like that and be like, oh, he's making the roster now.
Yeah. I'll have to go watch that too because I'm not familiar with it. But yeah, his motor's so high and he's just such an incredible athlete. I want to go back. Bruce made another comment here. Sorry, on that previous play. So I wanted to go and look at that real quick. Taron Johnson had gap replace. Or Taron Johnson, or is that Poyer there on the outside? Someone had gap. Someone replaced the gap. I see what you're saying. I think he's saying it was Poyer that had gap replaced. So Poyer comes over, and so because he's keying on Kelce in case of that RPO leak, Poyer's replacing the middle, which is exactly what he does. Now he's in the middle. That makes a lot of sense then. Thank you, Bruce. Okay, now we can move on.
Oh yeah, this poor guy. All right. So this next play, this is another one of him not really reading the offensive line. But once again, obviously that's all about assignments. And as you can tell, it's tough for us to decipher what his true assignments are. So we're kind of piecing things together with context. But it seems like he's just shooting at the lead blocker. He's following where the lead blocker is going instead of reading the offensive line and seeing where the gap is going to be created, because ultimately Mike linebacker, a lot of it is being a running back on defense. You have to see where the hole is being created and go fill it instead of going to run through it. So on this one, I would have liked to see him be a little bit more patient because he kind of got lost in the trash of the play and then he had to navigate and scrape back through it. So I would have liked to see him kind of be a little bit more patient, but devil's advocate to that, like he could just then take himself out of the play. A lineman could get up to the next level and take him out of the play completely. But yeah, there's just this clear, obvious gap that's opening up on the left side. I believe it's that's a nice little, that's not a trap, is it?
See, it's just funny because I actually think he's reading the line really well on this play.
Really? Nice.
Yeah,
all right.
Because
give me your
when I was watching it, because he's going to meet the pulling guard, and that's where the play is going to go. Almost every time, if your guard's pulling, that's where the play is going to go. And you can even see it here. Williams' shoulders are square to go through this gap that should be created there. And I think if Edmunds doesn't go there, and the lineman and the lineman's able to kind of open up that gap with the pull, I think they might have been able to get through. But because Edmunds reads that, gets in that spot, and kind of makes a little extra traffic, it forces Williams to bounce it outside, where Quentin Jefferson makes a good play to get off his block and make a tackle. So I actually think I actually liked what he did here. It's another one of those things where it might not show up on the stat sheet, but he forced the running back to go somewhere that he wasn't designed to go by clogging up that gap. And then, like I said, Quentin Jefferson does make a really good play. I think he's getting double teamed here. Watch Quentin Jefferson here. Getting double teamed, sees the cutback still, breaks off. Really good play by him.
Yeah, that's a great play.
Yeah, I didn't mind what.
I'm glad we differed on that play. I think that's the first one where we really differed on how we were evaluating that. I'm glad you did though, because you're absolutely right. He followed the pulling guard, and that's usually where the play goes. But I was reading it more as a running back instead of how you're supposed to read it, key by key as a linebacker. So No, that was good.
It's kind of something that he was doing earlier too, which is what made me think of it is he has kind of that idea of if the guard is pulling, I'm going to go meet him wherever he's going to end up. And I think that that's kind of a theme that that we've been able to see, especially, there were a few plays in the Patriots game like that as well.
Yeah, the Patriots game specifically.
Yeah.
All right, so this one, this is another tough one. I guess it's another example of him having blitz inefficiencies. If he's rushing the passer, he's not going to be what we want him to be, at least yet. I think he's just spent a lot of time in his game focusing on the linebacker position and strictly what a Mike linebacker has to do, and not so much of the ancillary things that could benefit him, like rushing off the edge in certain kind of packages or blitzing on the A gap, like Milano shows so much tenacity doing. But this one seems like another one where he's refusing to deviate from the play call, and he's clearly meant to like loop around those rushers and kind of get on the left of Mahomes. But when you watch the offensive line, like there's a clear gap that he could just go straight line to the quarterback. Fastest way to the quarterback is a straight line. And you can see it open up. I believe that's between 62 and 61. It opens up quick. But because of the play call, because of however the play was designed on defense, he's meant to loop around Milano instead of rushing on the inside of Milano. So that was my only concern with it. It's very nitpicky because the ball got out so quickly. Even if he did rush straight line to the quarterback, I doubt you really even would have disrupted the play so much.
Yeah, and it was another thing. I'm glad you said that about how the unwillingness to deviate from the play, because it did look like a double A gap blitz, or where they're both going through the same A gap. I think I just went back too far. But it's they're both going through that same gap, and I think that's the play design to overwhelm whoever's trying to block there. But yeah, it's just not working. And I think he probably could have broken off of that a little bit and instead tried to just shoot up the middle and at least get in his face. It's a very clean.
He's got long
throw,
arms.
So.
He's got long arms. You can just throw him up.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on here to this is one I think is very subjective. Actually, I think I interpreted this as a great play despite it being an 11-yard gain on a rush, but I interpreted this as a great play. There are only 3 people, maybe 4, that could have made the tackle on that play. Great blocking by the offensive line, sealing off, making clear gap in the B gap right there. And Edmunds has 3 gaps that he's playing. In my notes, I said he was 3 gapping. He could have shot the first gap and taken a risk right there and try to make a shoestring tackle. He had to play the around the edge, kind of like a toss play, and he had to play the B gap that the play obviously went through. Moral of the story is Demarcus Robinson has a great block on Tre'Davious White at the top of the screen. So really the only 2 realistic guys that are going to make a play on this are Edmunds and Hyde. And then, Oliver shows a great effort play to get in the mix. But this play, it was just a great fortuitous design for the Chiefs. And they just kind of hit the Bills exactly where they weren't. So you can see pre-snap, that B gap is wide. There's a huge hole in that B gap. Mm-hmm. And Edmunds has to defend all of them. So I'd like to know what you have to think about this.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And I think this is another one where Zimmer's getting blown up a little bit. He's trying to take up 2 guys that are much bigger and probably stronger than him. Hard to fault him for that, I guess. But I'd like to see him maybe try to at least not move back. It's hard to say I don't want you to move back at all when you're being blocked by these 2 massive dudes, but I guess that's his job. So, he gets in the way. It's another thing where, he kind of steps up here and, is he going to cut up into this gap? I don't know, but I think, do you have the end zone angle on this one as well? I can't remember.
Yes, I do.
Oh, awesome. Right. Okay. So, I think you get to see it well here too. He's in that gap and he's ready to, because that's a great gap to run through. If you're a running back, you've got a shoulder there and a shoulder there that are pointing kind of, directly that you can run through there. And that's what you want to see is kind of angled backs. And that's going to tell you where you want to go. He's got more angled backs this way, really angled backs. So it's a better hole to run through, but there was a place for him to go here. So Tremaine wanted to make sure that he filled that one, and then he keeps his eye on the ball and works through the traffic. And this is kind of the same style of tackle he was going for on that Tyreek Hill thing where he grabs the hips. I don't know if I like that's how he tackles. But you know, he's a strong guy and he wants to play strong, so he's going to grab you and try to throw your whole body around.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point with the tackling technique, but I think that length just kind of like it enables him to kind of go for those tackles sometimes, you know, because he has that reach where he can just kind of like hope to get all the way out there, and he does more than he doesn't. He gets his hands around people more than he doesn't. It's just coming down and making the tackle, like you said. If you're taking people by the hips, that's their strongest point. So
yeah, absolutely. And then I'm gonna pull up John DeMarchi. John, thank you so much, man. Just a high five for an extraordinary show. Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. And I know you've been in the other film session ones as well. So I appreciate you hanging out and talking film with us too. You always have good insight, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, John. All right, this last one is nail in the coffin. This is the nail in the coffin play. It's not great. It's, you know, Bills are losing at this point. They're trying to get the ball back to Josh just so we can, you know, have a chance at like an onside kick kind of come back in this game. But the big thing on this play is it seems like it's just an overall blown coverage. Like this is not a Tremaine Edmunds fault. This is not a specific player fault, but it's just an overall blown coverage. There's too many people that just kind of lost discipline on this play. They see Mecole Hardman go on that jet sweep motion, and people just kind of start gravitating towards that eye candy. You see Matt Milano take a step up there and like kind of hedge on that. See like, oh, he could get that jet sweep. I'll be right here to meet it if I go around this edge. He does that. And by doing that, Kelce slips out right underneath him. And then Tremaine Edmunds is reading the play action fake. And once it doesn't happen, he just screams into Mahomes and Kelce's wide open. There's just not, there are things I wish they did better, but circumstantially how the offense was attacking them, there's a lot being thrown in their face, and they're already down in the dumps morale wise with the way the game had been playing out. It's tough. I know I'm throwing emotion into this where emotion shouldn't be evaluated like that, but I mean, matter of fact is these guys probably did have their heads down at this point, the defense, because they just felt like they were doing everything they can, you know.
Yeah, I like this play because there's a lot you can see going on pre-snap, and then you can see how it affects the play after. They send a guy in motion, and they instantly know that they're in man coverage because we got, I think that's Hyde up there, takes a few steps, points out, hey, you got a guy coming to you. That's your new man. So now coming outside, Tre'Davious, his new man, I think is 17 there. Hyde is going to take this crosser coming across the middle, and then Poyer, I think, is supposed to be on Kelce.
That's the one.
And I'm really not sure. It's hard to tell because we do get Milano, who I would have liked him to get more hands on Kelce here. He doesn't touch him. I'd like him to give him a little bit of a pop and make it hard for him. But I think. I'm not sure what his assignment is, if I'm completely honest. It might have just been something where he's supposed to be covering someone, but he got in too close and now it's too late and he's got a blitz. So I don't know, maybe he was supposed to help out with Kelce or something, or maybe it was a design blitz.
Red zone assignments are tough.
Yeah, and with Edmunds, from what I could tell, it looks like he's playing the running back, and when he sees the play fake and the running back staying into block is when he shoots. So I think the running back is Edmunds' man. And it's hard to tell because it's such a mess, and it's a great play design. I mean, when you're in like this and you're going against man coverage and you run those crossers, it's, you know, there's so much traffic that happens here, and what ends up happening is Josh Norman gets run right into Poyer, who I think is supposed to be covering Kelce. They don't have the time to switch because they're crossing from really far away. So it's a really tough play to judge. And you know, good play design, just bad circumstances on both Milano and Edmunds going through and not being able to play kind of underneath zones to keep everything safe.
The one point of emphasis, I wonder if the Bills will change how they coach linebackers on that play action fake kind of thing, because like you said, and like I was alluding to, you see the play action fake, and then once he doesn't get the ball, it's like, okay, I'll go blitz the quarterback. You know, in the future, are they going to say, if your guy doesn't get the ball, just drop back and get some depth into the middle of the field? You know, is that the way they want to defend? I don't know how they coach it personally, but I don't know. I kind of feel like, especially on a play like this, I feel like there were already enough rushers. There's no need to add another. Just get back into the middle in your zone. I'm not saying that's on Edmunds. It seems like it's more of a coaching point, if anything. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious where that would move going forward for the Bills.
Yeah, I kind of would like him to in that situation. And I'm not sure if that's the case, Steven. I don't know if that's just kind of something that I saw where it's once Williams shows he's not going out for a pass, that's when Edmunds goes. So I don't know if that's the guy who he was covering and he's like, well, let me go get pressure. I don't know if it's a delayed blitz. I'm not really sure, but it would have been nice if he was able to kind of sit there a little bit and take up some extra space. But I even still, I'm not sure if he would have affected the play at all because of all the traffic that was going on behind him anyway.
Yeah, just great play design in the red zone. Always is by Andy Reid.
And, the Bills have done stuff like that too. It's never Kelce, which you'd think people would try to key on maybe a little bit more. So, they did it with Lee Smith a couple times where he snuck out it's crossing routes, a lot of traffic. But yeah, when you're in the red zone, it's a good play design to be able to do that.
So yeah, that's all we got. That was what, 32, 33 plays?
Yeah, it was a lot of plays, and we got through a lot. We had about 80 people most of the show, so thank you for everyone that stuck around the whole time. And I don't know, it's kind of from what you guys think. How do you feel about Edmunds? I'm not sure how differing the opinions are just in this room right here. People in the chat, how do you feel? Are you happy with Edmunds? Do you think he needs improvement? Do you think we should sign him to a big extension like we're going to with Josh? What do you guys think? What are your feelings on it right now? And I'll ask that to you as well, Kendall. What are your thoughts on Edmunds as a whole?
Well, thankfully, it seems like the chat wasn't too polarizing tonight. That's always nice. People in the middle are seemingly the pragmatic bunch, and I like that. But yeah, no, I'm in the middle. It's like, yeah, I'd love to see him improve, but I'm leaning more towards I would like to keep this guy. He's only 23. He's shown a lot of great things in his rookie year and his sophomore campaign. And, he took a slight regression technically this past year. But, I mean, he's still improving. Progression isn't always linear, and we've been spoiled by Josh Allen having growth from year to year, even though he's had some games here and there where he's not too great. I think we've been spoiled by that. And even the progression of the team as a whole, it's been so linear. It's been like every year we're improving on what we did the year before. And it's like, yeah, we're assuming because we went AFC Championship and we won 13 games. Now this year we're going to win 14 or 15 games and win the Super Bowl, but it's not always like that, guys. It's hard to string together success. And when you do, it means you have something excellent. So I'd like to see sustainability. That's what I'd like to see from Edmunds, some more consistency in his game and his mental processes. We know he has the athleticism, just kind of shoring up some of those things in coverage. Honestly, watching the film, I like him a lot more against the run than I thought I did before watching the film.
I think he's really good against the run. His pursuit is really good. His player recognition sometimes is a little delayed. But for the most part, when he does recognize and when he knows what play is coming, he'll get to the gap fast, and he's really good at that. He does miss tackles sometimes. I think he plays on his heels too much, which is not something we really touched on that much throughout the show. I think sometimes he can get a little bit timid almost, where he's not up on his toes and ready to go when someone's making a cut on him. So I think he is susceptible to kind of getting juked out because he plays a little bit with his weight too far back. It's hard to tell. He's a big dude too, and I mean it's hard to move that much body and be quick when you're that big. So it's hard to say if that's an issue that goes along with it, but I think he's a solid linebacker. I don't think he's not Patrick Willis or he's not Luke Kuechly, but I think he's a good middle linebacker, and he has potential to get better. He could still get a lot better. He does have good athleticism. He's got pretty good speed for a dude his size, and I think the potential is enough to keep him around and allow him to grow a little bit more in the defense. And the more he learns about the system too, the better he's going to get, and the faster those recognitions are going to be. So it's really tough, and the age does play a factor in do you give him a break or not. But I like him, and I think that they should keep him. And until he proves that no more development is going to happen, if we don't see any more development from him over the next 2 years, then I don't think any of us are going to be very pleased with how that's going, just because we expected him to be this guy that can lead the defense.
Exactly. Before we jump into this truth to hearts comment, I just want to piggyback off of that. I think a lot of this that we broke down today is showing that the things that Edmunds has to work on, they're coachable. They're things that can be taught. They're things that he can get better at. And we need to allow him that time to develop. And like you said, if he doesn't do that, then it's cause for concern. There are people that think that Milano is better than Edmunds, and I have no reason to contest that right now at this point. The point that I would like to make is I think Milano is closer to his ceiling than Edmunds is. So why are we not investing into Edmunds like we are Milano? Obviously, everyone doesn't reach their ceiling, but as Sean McDermott says, we're going to make you the best version of yourself, and I'd like to roll the dice on, the Buffalo Bills coaching staff.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes too. Are we criticizing him too much because he was an early first or a late first round draft pick that we traded into? Does that get him more criticism? I think sometimes it does. He's under a microscope because of when he was picked and the position that he plays. Matt Milano, we were impressed with him his rookie year because he was like, a third or fourth? I don't even remember when he was picked. What round?
He was a fifth.
Yeah, he's a fifth round pick, and he was playing. He was running around like a madman, making tackles and breaking up pass plays. And, I think it's different when it's like, oh, he's a fifth round draft pick and he's doing really well versus this guy that we got in the first round is not performing as well as we would like him to, but he's still performing well. And we still have to, give him credit where credit's due for some of the stuff that he does well. Let's get into some comments here. Truth to Hearts, thank you very much for the donation. Honestly, that last play looked like Norman was playing man when it could have been quarters. Honestly, it was such a mess. It's hard to tell. I think it might have been man coverage based on what some of the other guys were doing. But it's so hard to tell, honestly. So it's tough to read it. And when you don't know the play call, there's some plays where it's like, guess that coverage basically, and no one has any idea. But thank you for that donation there. John DeMarchi, thank you again. The number one ability is availability. And Tremaine played through a bruised shoulder. That's a really good point. He did play a lot of the season with a shoulder injury. He toughed it out, and we saw some shying away from hits, and maybe that's kind of where I get this idea of him playing timid, is because he was doing it because he was hurting and his shoulder was in a lot of pain. So, he's a tough dude, and I'm glad that he was able to tough it out and play through that. A lot of these guys on this Bills team are super tough. So, that is definitely something to keep into consideration. John Marlowe, his age is like rookie age. Yeah. A lot of these guys that just got drafted are the same age as him. So that's something where he still has so much room to develop. If we were to draft him now and he played the season that he just had, we'd be very pleased. If he had been a draft pick last year, we'd have been like, that was a good rookie season. And so he still has a lot of that room to grow still. And it's, he's just getting a lot of good real world experience from it. But yeah, the expectations, which we touched on. This is a good comment too, touching on his health again. If he stays healthy, that's going to be a big win, and it's going to be able to make sure that he's got that. I think it's going to be a big prove it year. And if he can stay healthy the whole year, I think we're going to know whether or not he's where his ceiling is after this next year, hopefully. But are there any other comments that you're seeing you want to pull
up? None specifically. You're hitting a lot of the good ones. I mean, it's obviously this is a very tough subject because it's so subjective and, there's so much room for him to grow. But I think we just have to be a little bit more patient. Like you said, this is going to be the judgment year. I mean, obviously he's going to have his fifth year option to prove that he's worth that extension. But, this fourth year is going to be the judgment year that, helps you understand if he's even worth the $12 million price tag that we're going to be paying him in 2022. So big year for Edmunds, big year for a lot of these like third to fourth year players in the NFL that are on the Bills.
Yeah, definitely. It is tough. I understand why people are criticizing him, because you want a guy that's drafted that high to perform in a certain way. It's tough when he doesn't perform that way. So I still believe in him though. And what are you patiently waiting for, Bobby?
We know Bobby wants more. He wants more from Edmunds, and I can't blame him. You know, we all want more. We all want the guy to turn out to be like the greatest thing at the linebacker position ever. But you know, sometimes you got to take what you have, and if it means a top half of the league linebacker, hopefully we pay him that way, and we don't pay him like a top quarter of the league linebacker. You know, so we take what we can get, and hopefully we pay him proportionally to what he contributes onto the field.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what those numbers do look like when that does happen, because I'm pretty sure it will happen eventually. So Josh is going to come first, but after that, I think it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Any closing remarks here?
Nah, man, just let us know how we did. Like, hit us up on Twitter, you know, hit us up in the comment section. Let us know if you want us to keep this going. Let us know players you want us to break down, whether that be, you know, I mean, we're not talking about 2022 draft prospects. We're not going to do that yet. Let's get into the Buffalo Bills first. Let us know like the current draft class that we just did, some undrafted free agents, players that are already on the Bills. Let us know how we did, how you like the duo, how you like the film session, and let us know if there are any players specifically that you would like us to do during this, you know, dog days of the off season. You know, not a lot of news, so we're gonna give you some news when there isn't anything happening in the news cycle.
Yeah, and this is going to be pretty fun. I like the format that we're doing here, where you know we're comparing notes live with you guys, and we want you guys to throw notes at us as well and what you see, because the more people that have eyes on the film, the more things that you're going to see, because there's just so much to see. So I appreciate everyone that stuck around for the show and was commenting on things that they saw as well. Sorry, you know, we didn't get to a lot of the comments during the show. Just because, you know, especially when it's Kendall's film and I'm operating the video itself, it's hard to see all those. But we appreciate those, and I'm going to scroll back through some of them and read some of those comments, because we appreciate you guys and how you contribute as well. But sure. So thank you very much. Tonight. You can also follow us on Twitter. Kendall over here is at Mirsky Kendall, and you can follow me right here at Clay Troia. Follow us on Twitter, and we'll keep you up to date on when we're going to do this again, and maybe we'll get a poll up on the Fanatics page on who we should do next. Thank you all again, and hopefully we'll see you next week.